Okay, so I showed you this graph as well, which Bayan was talking about the impact, the value, and the probability. Okay, so initially the impact is low, the probability is high because you know less about the project, and but you haven't invested any resources in the project, so impact is very low, and because you have less knowledge, the probability is very high, and as you go along, it will reverse. And I told you the main thing is you have to deal with all the stages. Okay, so it's not like profit and loss that you always want to be in profit. It doesn't work like this. You have to go through the entire curve. Okay, because the entire curve is different stages of the project. So in risk management is an art and science. You have to identify the risk, meet the two conditions, then you analyze the impact and the probability, and then you devise your plan. How will you respond to it? And in doing that, you have to prioritize the risk according to the impact, according to the probability, and so on. You have to make sure that it is part of your plan, and you have to devise the action plan as well, and you have to do it proactively. And then these were the different types of risks related to each component of the project: communication, management, scope, quality, time, cost, human resource. So what can be the possible risks, and you need to integrate it into your project. Okay, and I told you delay is the most important one, the most common one. Okay, so most of the times you have to deal with the delay. And then we have external uncertainties. Okay, these external uncertainties can be about the scope of the project. Okay, so for example, the you are doing the construction of a mall. Okay, and the owner of the mall now during construction thinks about that my mall should have a gym as well, or should have a gaming zone as well. So he is changing the scope. Okay, and obviously it is happening externally. Or let's say there's a crisis, okay, for fuel or something, or electricity. Okay, and now the owner comes and he says, no, my building should have its own solar panels or wind tunnel or something like this. So he is doing it because of external factors, because maybe because of his own requirements, but it is happening externally. Okay, the scope which is changing because of external factors, and the scope may change because of internal factors as well. For example, you were going to do the foundation, and you thought that or the earlier reports suggested, or the earlier data suggested that the soil is very loose. So the foundation was designed according to that, the excavation was planned according to that, but later on you found, just before the construction work, you did more tests and you found that the soil is changed, or is different. Okay, and then you the design is changed, the work will change. So this is change in scope because of something internal. So earlier you may be going for pile foundation, now you will go for just a simple raft foundation. Okay, so change in scope because of something internal. Okay, but here we are mainly talking about external uncertainties. I already gave the example. If the client changes its requirement and it has an impact on the scope, this is considered external. Okay, because it did not happen because of something which came up during the project. Okay, let's say material in unavailability or something like this. Okay, it has happened because the client thought I should do this or I should not do this, so on and so forth. Maybe the client had more budget initially, then later on he said, oh, my money got wasted somewhere else, I have just 80% of the budget, so I will not make the last floor or something. So these are considered external uncertainties, the things which can happen with the client or something. Okay, so when this happens, then uh, obviously your schedule will change and your team may change. Okay, I gave you the example of excavation. Okay, I gave you the example of solar panels, putting solar panels. Any construction team cannot put up this work. Okay, any construction team cannot take on the construction of a wind channel or a wind turbine or a solar panel or something like this. Okay, you need a specialist people for that. So these external uncertainties may have require a lot of team changes as well. Okay, so if you can understand these uncertainties, okay, and you can think about them uh, before the project starts, okay, then it will be easier for you to manage in the end. Okay, if you don't think about them at the start, then you can face problems because of these extreme situations. Then we have safety issues. Okay, safety is maintained, if you know, through using the PPE. Okay, who knows the full form of PPE? What is PPE? Tell me. Anyone? PPE means what? Yes, personal protective equipment. So, uh, personal protective equipment includes helmets, gloves, uh, boots, and waist, and so many more things. Which you obviously, some of those things you may have used during your training or site visits, and there are other things which you may not have used. But the point is, there are many things, and depends upon the type of job you are doing. So in certain jobs you may not need, or certain people on the site may not need the gloves. Certain other people may not need the goggles. Okay, but people who are involved in cement carrying and mixing and so on, they may need the extra equipment as well. Okay, so safety issues can happen because you are not taking care of equipments, you are not providing enough equipment on the site for the people who will be indulging in an activity. So I know that there will be 5 people who will be working on steel work. Okay, so I need for these 5 people to have hard boots and vest and helmet and gloves. Okay, I don't know if there's some welding involved, then you have to have the goggles as well. But I only have these things for 3 people, and now you are inviting safety issues. You are creating safety issue. Okay, yes, accidents can happen randomly. Nobody can predict. Even after providing all the equipment, after providing all the tools, I cannot guarantee that there will be no equipment. Okay, but if you are not planning for it from the advance, from the start, and you are not providing the right tools and equipment yourself, then you are inviting trouble yourself. Okay, another major reason for safety issues is untrained and uninformed people. So whenever you have gone to a construction site on training and for site visits, they do a safety session. They always do that. Okay, and they take your signature that see the safety session was done and it is recorded. Like they have a record that safety session happened with these people. Okay, because later on it will they if an accident happened, god forbid, okay, then they need to show that we did everything we can and still it happened. Okay, so that training session or that information session is also very important for managing safety. Again, if you are not doing this, you are getting into trouble yourself. Okay, so when you don't follow the proper procedures, including availability of the equipment and tools, and training and information for the relevant people, you are bound to have safety issues later on. And in some cases, even if you don't have an accident, the authority, somebody may come and do an inspection and they can stop your work even without having an accident. Okay, so this will cause delay, this will cause maybe some legal issues and so on and so forth. Okay, so you need to communicate the proper procedures to the entire team. You need to provide them about with the right equipment, with the right tools and the gear. Okay, and this will reduce these risks. Okay, I don't remember if I discussed delay. I don't remember if I went through this slide or not. I didn't go through it. So delay can happen because of number of factors. For example, you did not take care of the scheduling. Okay, like in the planning stage, you did not do the proper planning. So whatever you are doing is bound to have delay because you did not do your planning properly. Okay, so it happens if you see all the 3 points. Are the other points? Yes. Okay, so in all the points, you are enforcing risk. You are increasing the probability of a risk by not doing proper planning yourself. Okay, so this is the thing. Okay, so you will find this in one way or the other in all the points. Another reason for delay is when accidents happen. When accidents happen, the work has to be stopped. The person has to be taken to the hospital. You may have to arrange other resources, other people to do the job. Okay, you may have to change the equipment. You may have forced closure of the work by the authorities. Okay, and so you can address these risks first of all by doing proper planning from the start. Set up set up realistic deadlines. Okay, and then you create a contingency plan as well. Contingency plan can involve having first aid kit on the site, having maybe 1 or 2 extra people on the site, having as much as possible some alternate equipment. Okay, so these are all part of contingency plan to solve your delay problems. Okay, we did one type of analysis. It didn't come in the exam for the analysis, but we did one type of analysis where you can where we try to find out the right type of duration for the project. Okay, including the risk of delay and everything. What analysis was that? What analysis we do to find out the duration of the project including the risk? We had done that in this course already earlier. So what analysis was that? It was part of the topics for the midterm exam. Which one was that? Schedule risk analysis. We didn't do any analysis for that. We did some calculation, I believe. PERT, yes, PERT. CPM is done for project duration, but yes, PERT is the right answer. CPM is done for the within the PERT. Okay, CPM is the procedure, but to calculate the duration using optimistic, pessimistic, most likely value, that is all called PERT. Okay, so CPM is just gives you the duration, but PERT is the thing where you include duration of different types. Okay, so PERT is the right answer here. Okay, some other risks with the construction projects, something you can imagine is material pricing. Obviously, material prices are not always under control, and you cannot store the entire material required for the site. Okay, so for example, you started the project, you know that you need 500 bags of cement. Now it is very unlikely that you can store 500 bags of, you buy 500 bags of cement and then you can store it somewhere and then you use it whenever you want, so the price will be consistent. Okay, but this is ideal scenario, but how many times you can do that? Okay, I told you the contractor has his money rotating in different projects. So he gets it from one project, puts in the other project. So 99% of the contractors, whether they are big or small, they cannot afford to buy the entire requirement of the material in one go. So that means when you are doing it in batches, then there's always a problem of price uncertainty. So today it is this much, maybe after 2 months the price will change. And then you have the issue where the material can completely stop. Okay, so it was coming from some place, from some factory, from some other country. The factory has closed, the border is closed, something. Okay, so and material is one of the major components of the budget. Okay, material price or the component of the material is always higher than many other items in the project. Okay, so when you say concrete, for example, okay, concrete, you are taking the major part of concrete rate is from materials. If you say steel fixing, so the major part of steel is the steel itself, not the labor and other things. Okay, so what can cause the material prices to increase? I already gave you some examples. Okay, and sometimes it can increase because of natural disasters. Okay, again, it's basically the blockage of the supply because of any reason. Okay, and sometimes it can happen because of labor issues as well. Labor issues where the material is coming. Okay, obviously if you have labor issue at your side, it's a labor issue, not a material issue. But let's say some factory which was producing the material, they have a labor issue and the factory is closed. So they are talking about this type of thing. Okay, and in some other countries they have other problems. The entire country may be having some problem. Okay, where the people are not going to work, they have strikes and so on. Okay, so not the strike like the drone strike or something. No. Strike means closing of the work. People say, we will not work under these conditions. So that type of strike. Okay, so this will also cause the material delivery to be delayed and prices to rise and so on and so forth. One of my friends, he is part of the construction business, but he is with specialized things. So he was telling me that because of this situation, the current situation, the routing of the material or the products which they were taking from, I believe, Germany, so the routing has changed, so the price has increased 5 times. Okay, so it was 1000, now it is 5000, because now the material has to come from a different route. It's still coming from the same place but from a different route, so the price has increased 5 times. So just imagine, it's just one type of product. Okay, lack of quality contracts. Okay, the contract drafting is not done properly. You did not think about all the possibilities. Okay, for example, if there is a change in the design, how will it be handled? If the if the site conditions change, the contractor was given one type of data about the site, about the utilities, soil condition, but when the work started, they found difference in the site conditions from the earlier data. So how will this be handled by the by the people? Okay, so this is again a major this can create this is a risk, because if people get into conflict when that event happens which was not in the contract, or it was not discussed properly in the contract, when that event happens, the work will close, obviously, because nobody knows what to do. Okay, the design has changed, so what should I do now? Okay, who will approve it? Okay, and how many days it is supposed to be approved, and who will take it to the authorities again, because the government also needs to approve the design, the authorities, ministry of I don't know, whoever. Okay, so so who will get these approvals, and when the change is happening, Okay, so obviously that work is stopped. So when the change is happening, the number of days lost, who will pay for that? Because the labor is still engaged, the material is still on the site, the equipment has to be on the site. You cannot just take it away and bring it back after one day. You need to keep it on the site. So who will pay for that, those extra days? So obviously, when these things are not clear in the contract, the work is stopped. And since you don't know, one person may say one thing, the other person may not agree, and obviously this will create conflict, and the conflict can end up in a failure of the entire project. Okay, inconsistencies. You may have hired a new subcontractor. You have not worked with this subcontractor before, and he, from his own opinion, from his own judgment, decides that this thing should be done in this way. Okay, it's better to do it in this way. Okay, or the timeline which is given to me is not enough, so I will do the work according to my plan, according to my judgment, and I will inform the client or the main contractor later on. Okay, so this is like uh, the the problem with the communication. Okay, and usually it can happen with new subcontractors. Okay, now why would a new subcontractor would do something like this? The old subcontractor, if you have been working with some person, with someone for a long time, you understand their working style, you understand what they like and what they don't like, on which things they will create problems. Okay, it happens in the class, it happens in the field, it happens in, even between teachers, between colleagues in the office. Okay, so whichever discipline you go into, whichever field you go into, when you are working with someone continuously for a long time, you understand them. So even if you make change, you know that this is something which the other person will not mind, and this is something in which he trusts me. Okay, so with someone who is regular with you, it's very easy. But if there's someone new, he may be assuming things which are not correct about you. He doesn't know you. So according to him, if there is a 1 day delay, you will not mind. Okay, but other people know that you are very strict about even 1 hour of delay. Okay, so this is a problem with assuming things without clarification. Okay, this inconsistency is when you do not communicate properly, especially when there are new people working together, a new team, and this why they don't communicate, because they assume, okay, that he has given me this work, and he trusts me with this aspect, and if I do it from my side, he will not mind. Okay, so something happened a few, I believe it was Ramadan, this or just before Ramadan. We have a new committee. I have not worked with this guy before, and I did something from my end, and this was according to what he gave me. He gave me okay, you have to do this task, and I did the task according to what I thought was best. Okay, and then later on in the meeting, he said that no, you should have done this in this way. He did not change the task, but he said, okay, at least you should put me in the CC, okay, in the email. Okay, so these are different working styles. If I'm working with someone else, I know that person will not mind if I don't put him in CC. Okay, so but for this guy, it is very important that he should be in the email. Okay, so these are the inconsistencies we are talking about. So obviously, when this happens, you have conflict, and the work will stop, litigation can happen, and so on and so forth. Incomplete planning. So going back to the same point which I have mentioned in the previous slides. Okay, you started the work, the project plan was not complete, design was not complete, duration was not known, WBS was not there, Gantt chart was not there. Okay, so all these come under incomplete plans. Then you have legal and safety regulations, okay, which you have to find out from the government. You did not establish them, and you did not communicate it to the guys in the field because you did not establish them, and the contract was not done properly, and so on and so forth. or you did not fulfill the legal requirements before you started the work. Okay, so you have to take some approvals, you have to inform certain departments before you start working. So this all comes under incomplete planning. Then we have lack of skilled labor. It can happen because of some extraordinary situation. For example, we know COVID happened. So during COVID, there was some shortage of people as well. Okay, and in some cases, you need specialists to do the job. I mentioned installing solar panels, installing wind turbines. Okay, and there are many other tasks in the construction on the construction site where you need specialist people. So there may be specialist people in Bahrain, but how many of them will I have in my project? Okay, so you have to again look at your limited resources. Okay, there could be thousands of people who can do this job, but out of those thousands, my company only has two. Okay, so if something happens to these two, I am at zero. Okay, so you have to look at it from the perspective of your available resources. Okay, and you can have a major problem like strike and disruption in the company. People are leaving or people are not willing to work and so on and so forth. So you need to think about these things from the in advance and try to see what you can do. Lack of environmental analysis. So environmental analysis, when you are dumping construction material, if you have some wastewater coming from your site, so you cannot just dump it in the sea. There are some environmental requirements for that. Okay, if even during the construction work you have to fulfill certain environmental requirements. So there were trees on the site, can you just cut them off? No. There will be sound pollution, there will be dust. So all these things need some sort of analysis. How much it will be and how we can control it. Okay, and if you don't consider these things, you did not consider them or you did not control them properly, the authorities can come and stop your work, and they may ask you later on to do some mitigation, and it will have extra cost and delay and so on. Change orders. Okay, so you are changing something which was part of the original project, that's a change order. Okay, and so we have a change order form. Usually all projects have a change order document, and the change order document you have to list the changes, okay, why you are doing it and so on and so forth. So if you have a proper procedure for documenting the change orders, then you can go through it quickly because everybody knows what to do. Okay, so who will prepare the document, where will it go for approval, what are the things I should include with the document. Okay, so projects will go, the procedure will go smoothly and quickly if you have already made sure of that. Then we have payment disputes. Okay, so in payment disputes, you will take the payment from the client. Client gives to the contractor. Contractor is supposed to give it to the suppliers. Okay, suppliers or the subcontractor. Now see, when the owner will give the payment, when the work is done. Okay, to do the work, the subcontractor must do his job. The supplier must supply the material, the equipment and everything. The job will be finished. So somebody supplied the material, then the work started, work finished. So you see now this much time has elapsed already. Then somebody will come and check it. After checking, it will be billed to the client. Then the client will release the payment. So the supplier who gave the material from this at the start of the work, you imagine how much time has passed for that guy. Okay, so the contractor has to manage this time lapse somehow. The supplier may say your work will take 1 month, then somebody will check it, then the client will release the bill. It will take 40-50 days, but you have to give me payment after 15 days, 1-5, not 50 days. Okay, so you need to manage that. If you don't manage it, the supplier may stop supply for some other project, okay, or he may not want to work with you on some in future because he thinks that you delay the work or you delay the payment a lot. Same thing with the subcontractor. Okay, so you are not there to, okay, you will work for me now and then I will make you cry for your payment and we will never see each other again. It doesn't work like this. You cannot work in the market like this. Okay, so you may have a delay in payment, which is quite common. Okay, you have to manage it somehow. And then you have payment disputes as well. You know, the subcontractor may claim extra work, okay, or he may say that the conditions were not according to what you were telling me, or something extra happened on the site, a very heavy rain, okay, something like that, an accident happened. Okay, so accident happened in some other activity, but you had to close the site. Okay, you had to take people out from there and so on and so forth. So there can be a payment dispute because of that as well. Then we have stop work orders. We have change orders and then we have stop work orders. Okay, so stop work orders means somebody is telling the company, the contractor, to stop the work. Okay, and it can be from the client, it can be from the government, it can be from any other authority. Okay, so and this mainly happens because you are not fulfilling the rules and regulations. Okay, so if you fulfill the rules and regulations, then the stop work orders can be reduced a lot. Okay, so you have to make sure that you are fulfilling all the rules and regulations of the country. I already mentioned they are mainly for safety and for environment, the most important ones. And then we have the other ones, you know, for blocking the road or something, but usually they are very they are somewhat lenient about that. Okay, so if you disturb the road for maybe half an hour, they will be lenient about that. But if you have a safety problem, your workers are not wearing helmets and so on, it's a bigger issue. Okay, same thing with the environment as well. Okay, there are different strategies to deal with the risks. Okay, there are different strategies to deal with the risks. First thing is you try to avoid them or eliminate them. Avoid them means they do not happen at all. Eliminate them means that they will happen. Okay, but avoid them, eliminate them means the same thing, that you do not allow them to happen. Okay, one way or the other. Eliminate. Now, what is the difference between eliminate and avoid? For example, I know if I'm going to use aluminum in my project, then I have a local supply for that. If I use, instead of aluminum, if I use plastic, then it will come from somewhere else. So I can avoid the risk of any external factor by using aluminum in our project. So I am avoiding it. Okay, I avoid the situation in which the risk can happen. Okay, so from the start you say I will not do this. Okay, because this can have this risk. Okay, for example, you have the choice, you can do concreting on site or it can be ready mix, what they call, I forgot the name, but the concreting which is done, on the way, or in which you have the precast concrete members. So if you do it on the site, there's a risk of rain, there's a risk of other equipment breaking down and so on. So I can avoid it by choosing precast members from the start. This is avoidance. Elimination is, I know I can have a problem with equipment failure. So I have an extra equipment, extra machine on the site. This is eliminating it. Okay, so now you understand the difference between avoidance and eliminating. Okay, avoiding means I don't go into a situation where the risk happens, and eliminating means I go into that situation, but whatever can go wrong, I already planned for that and I have already made sure that it will not have any effect. Okay. So in some cases it can be impossible. I give the example of equipment. So my company has only one excavator. I cannot have extra one. Okay. I give the example of aluminum and plastic. Okay. So uh, the work which I'm doing requires aluminum. Plastic cannot do the job here. Okay. Or the work I'm doing requires plastic. Aluminum cannot do the job. So it can be impossible to completely avoid or eliminate the risk. Okay. Completely avoid it from happening. Okay, another way of eliminating the risk is that okay, there can be equipment failure with the old equipment. I will buy a new one. Okay, so it will have almost zero chance of breaking down on the first project. Okay, unless you are a fool and you are buying new equipment which is old. Okay, then nobody can help you. Mitigating them. Okay, mitigating means you reduce the impact of it. Okay, reducing the impact of something is called as mitigating it. Mitigating means reducing the impact. So I know if there's equipment failure, there will be some delay, but I have a specialized team which will quickly take care of the equipment failure. Okay, so I'm minimizing the delay because of the equipment. Okay, or I know there can be material prices changing. Okay, there's a risk of material changes, material prices. So I'm storing as much material as possible. Okay, so yes, I cannot store all of it, but I'm storing in big quantities or I'm buying in big quantities. So eventually I'm getting lower prices. You know, when you buy in big quantities, you get lower prices. Okay, so you are mitigating the risks in that case. Okay, so this is mitigating. Then delegating is you are not okay. The risk will happen, but somebody else will take care of it. It's not my problem. Okay, so you hire someone who will take care of the excavation. Equipment breaks, his problem. Okay, uh, anything happens with the soil, his problem, not my problem. Okay, so you delegate the risk, somebody else will take care of it. Okay, and in some cases you say that uh, you know delegating can also mean that you find a way to compensate for the risk. It will happen. Okay, but whatever the delay, whatever the cost is, I've already figured it out who will compensate for it. Okay, and this is where we do insurance, right? So insurance will do what? Insurance does not avoid the risk. It's not, insurance will not mitigate the risk. Insurance means that if something goes bad, you have the payment ready from this party. That's it. Okay, you do car insurance as well, right? So what's the idea behind car insurance? Okay, I know the car can break down. I may have an accident. So if there's an accident, I know from where the cost can come. This is insurance. Okay, so delegating is you assign someone else the impact of the risk. So that party or that organization, that person will bear it. And insurance is one way of doing it. The last strategy is you accept it. Okay, so the risk is so unlikely or it is connected to something which I cannot change at all, is not in my control at all. Okay, the type of work I'm doing, it has to be in open space. I cannot change it because of the project. So if rain happens, I will deal with it, and whatever the consequences are, I will accept it. Okay, I will accept the risk and I will accept the consequences of the risk. Okay, so because I cannot do anything to reduce the consequences, I cannot give it to somebody else and I cannot avoid it. Okay, so the last strategy is, when you have to accept it as and when it happens. Okay, but obviously we are doing it for something uncertain. Keep it in mind. Okay, we are doing it for something uncertain. So if you are using your labor for 5 days a week for 16 hours, 12 hours, and then you say that suddenly half of my labor has become unfit, has become sick. This is, and I will accept the risk. No. When you were doing this, you knew that this will happen with the labor. Okay. Or you are using an equipment which was standing idle for many months. You did not do any maintenance for it, and then you are assigning this equipment for the next 6 months on a project. Obviously this equipment will fail. It will have failure. You cannot say, okay, I will accept the risk because I cannot do anything about it. No, you are creating the risk. You are creating the risk. I already gave you the example. You started work before taking any approvals. So this was not uncertain. You were supposed to take approvals. Okay, so this is not, you cannot say I will accept the risk. You did not do your job properly. You created the risk. Okay, you are creating the risk. So don't take the last option as an excuse for not doing your job properly. Okay, you have to do your job properly first, and then if something uncertain happens, then you accept the risk. Yes. Okay, and doing your job properly means you try to look into the first three strategies as well. You identify the risk events. Can you avoid them? Can you mitigate them? Can you assign it to someone? If all three of them are no, then you go for accepting the risk. Okay, so last, they are in sequence. Okay, they are in the same order. You avoid, try to avoid, that's the best situation. If not, mitigate. If not, delegate. If not, accept. Okay, so they are in this order. They must be applied in this order. When you are managing the risk, you have to take care of three rules. There are three ethical rules. Okay, now I believe most of you have taken engineering ethics. What is the meaning of ethics? Tell me, ethics means what? Yes, you must have taken, or you have taken courses, course in ethics. So what we mean by ethics? Engineering ethics. So what does it mean? Apply as principles of right and wrong. Okay. Integrity. Okay. Basic human rights and wrong. Okay. Have to follow for fair behavior. Okay, have moral and be fair. Rules to follow to right things. Okay, okay. So yes, you have the right idea. Good, excellent. Uh, engineers to put public. Okay, so you're putting public safety, sustainability, integrity on the top. Okay. Yes, ethics guide human behavior and decision making. Yes. Okay, thank you all for sharing these important points. They were all good points. So now you understand the meaning of ethics. Okay, so ethics comes into play when you are dealing with environment or other human beings. Okay, when your actions are affecting other human beings. This is where ethics comes into play. The ethical principles tells you what is right and wrong according to your morals, according to your values and so on. So these ethical rules, when you deal with risk management, play out in this way. Don't hurt anyone. Safety is the highest. Safety has the highest priority. Okay, safety is the topmost concern, and safety of the people, safety of the animals, safety of the environment. Okay, environment, basically if you are disturbing the environment, if you are destroying the environment, you are hurting people and animals, right? So don't hurt anyone. So if your risk management plan means that if somebody got injured, I will ask them to, put some bandage on the injury and just continue working. This is not risk management. Okay, you had safety problems on the site and you ask the labor, okay, I cannot provide enough equipment for you, you have to work without the equipment. You are endangering those people. This is not risk management. You are going against ethics. Okay, so whatever you are trying to mitigate the risk, delegate the risk, it should not be harmful for the environment or something. So you did not get approval for disposing of your construction waste, so now you are secretly putting it under the ground or something. This is not risk management. You are endangering the environment. Okay, so risk management that should not involve endangering the safety of any person or the species. Okay, do the right thing. Now, what is the right thing? You already mentioned that ethics give you the moral compass, what is right and wrong, right? So there are rules and regulations which you need to follow. So under no case you can avoid these rules and regulations. Okay, so the ministry has rules and regulations for moving the utilities, for example. Okay, or creating a diversion on the road if your work is related to the roads. So you have to fulfill these rules and requirements. Following the rules and requirements is one of the right thing to do. Another right thing to do is you have to be honest. Okay, somebody mentioned integrity in their answer. Okay, so integrity and honesty are very closely related. Okay, so you try to be as honest as possible, as open as possible. You don't hide anything, you don't give false information. So all of that goes against doing the right thing. And give credit where the credit is due. Okay, somebody pointed out something. Okay, he is a junior, and what he pointed out may require you to do the replanning of the entire project. So but you will not accept it because he is a junior. Why should I do so much work because of this guy, okay, who just came in from UOB and started working with me maybe a week ago? What do people at UOB know about construction work, right? So you have to listen to everybody with respect, even if their point of view is something new, something which may put you in harm, something which may require you to do more work or have more cost, whatever. Okay, you have to give them due chance to be listened, and you have to you know you have to take into account what they are saying. Okay, so somebody mentioned fairness. You have to deal with everybody fairly. So this is also a part of fairness, that you deal with the people in your team in in a fair manner, at equal level. Okay, irrespective of their experience or color or whatever. Okay, and just deliver. Ethical rule: project is your responsibility in the end. You cannot run away from the project. Okay, so you need to deal with the risk. Because of a risk, you cannot abandon, you cannot forego the project. In the end, that is your responsibility. So this is what they are saying here. Okay, in the end, you have to deal with the situation and move forward. Okay, deal with the situation and move forward. Okay, don't look for excuses and reasons to stop your project, and do cases on the client, or the client is doing case on you, and the project is stopped, but you are asking for compensation and so on and so forth. In the end, you have to look at, after all these good and bad points, how will I finish the project? Okay, and this is how your performance will be measured, right? In the end, it is not only ethical, it is professional as well. Okay, so if there's a guy who has taken on 10 projects, and out of 10 projects, in 8 of them he or she was useless, like he did not finish the project. Okay, so obviously it comes on your record. You are creating a bad impression for yourself in the market. Nobody will want to work with you. Okay, so uh, how do we identify the risks? uh, we have to do brainstorming. Okay, uh, so brainstorming means that you sit together, possibly together, okay, and then you think, okay, and you document the ideas which are coming in your head. Okay, this can be very easily done, or this can be made easier, identification of the risk, if you have a checklist. Okay, so maybe the checklist will have different items of the project. Okay, so you check, did I account for material shortage, did I account for labor problem, did I account for safety issues? Okay, the things which I mentioned earlier, you can make this thing into a checklist. All these issues can be made into a checklist. Did I take care of the delay, did I take care of material pricing, contract, planning, labor, stop work orders, payment disputes? Okay, so you can make this thing into a checklist. So when you are brainstorming, you are looking at all these items which are regularly creating risks in your project, and so it will guide you that and it will make sure that you don't miss anything which is common and important. Okay, and this is why doing it in the group is more effective. Doing it in the group is more efficient and more effective because people have different perspectives. So the consultant may be thinking about the risk of the environment, of the weather, about the strength, about damage or cracks in the building, and the contractor may be thinking about the availability of the material, okay, or the type of labor you need. So if you do it in the group, it is becomes more effective because you are taking into account different perspectives, and the checklist will do the same thing. Okay, evaluate SWOT analysis. SWOT means what is the meaning of SWOT? Strength, weakness, opportunities, threats. Yes. Okay, so once I mentioned the risks can be good or bad. They can be positive events or negative events. Okay, so yes, you have the right idea. The positive ones are called as opportunities. Okay, the positive ones are called as opportunities. Strength is if something happens, okay, you have the resources to deal with it. This is your strength. Weakness is when you are more vulnerable against something. Okay, so you are more vulnerable against material prices because you don't have any storage place. Okay, or you are working in a country which has more inflation issues. Okay, so this becomes your weakness when you are more vulnerable to something. Opportunity is when this event happens, it will have a positive impact on the project, and threat is when this event happens, you have a negative impact on the project. So risk, what we have been discussing so far, most of the times, is basically threats. They are basically considered as threats. Okay. So going back to dealing with the risk, so we are discussing identifying the risk. You brainstorm, you make sure, or you can do brainstorming more effectively in group sessions with checklists, and you can look at the opportunities, strengths, weaknesses for your company. Okay, this will help you to identify the risks. Okay, you can do interview surveys for people who are outside your organization, other experts in the field, especially your client, especially the consultant who are defining the project, who are taking big decisions about the project. So these people are very important. So you have to take their their perspective as well. So now you can see that mainly the risk management is done by the contractors. Okay, the contractor, because he has to deal with the risks in the field, and this is where the impact of the risk is very, very high. So the risk management becomes the portion or the part of the person who is handling the execution. You may hire someone a specialist for that, but even that specialist will have his or will focus on the execution part. Assessing the risks can be qualitative or quantitative, or you can do a risk matrix. Qualitative analysis includes that you look at risks and you look at what is the chance of this happening and what will be the impact of this happening, but you categorize them into categories, not with numbers. So you will not say this risk has 90% probability of happening and this one has 80% chance. No, the categorization is into something which you are putting as qualitative. Okay, so high risk, medium risk, low risk. Okay, things like this. So high means how much high, that depends upon your perspective, right? But this is done for both chance of the risk and impact of the risk. Okay, how likely is the risk and how much impact this risk will create, but not in terms of numbers, but in terms of the quantity. Okay, so this is qualitative analysis. We are not dealing with numbers. Quantitative means you are now assigning numbers. Okay, so you are saying if this risk happens, the delay will be this much, the extra cost will be this much, and so on and so forth. So the difference, you are doing the same thing in qualitative and quantitative, but in different aspects. Okay, in one of them you are using numbers, the other one you are just dividing them into categories. Okay, and then we have the risk matrix, which is a better visualization of the risk events. Okay, so a risk matrix is a graphical method to take care of the a graphical method to represent the risks in your project. Okay, then you need to prioritize the risk after you have analyzed the risks. So you identified the risks, you analyze them according to their probability and impact, and then you prioritize them. Okay, so I believe, okay, so the impact, let's say if I'm doing qualitative analysis, the impact can be high, medium and low, and the likelihood or chance can be high, medium and low. Okay, so our risk may have one of these three impacts and one of these three chances. Which one has the top priority for you? If you identified the risk, you analyzed it, which one will you prioritize? Yes, what type of risk has or should be at the top priority for a project manager? Like what should be the impact and the likelihood value? Yeah, high impact with high chance, right? If there is risk with high impact and high chance, then that risk will have the highest priority. Okay, so you prioritize risks. You have to create a risk register, which is a document, a table, which shows the risk and which shows the impact and which shows the likelihood. So all these things must be documented. You are not doing it in your head. Okay, you have to document it so that all the stakeholders, the entire team can see it. Okay, what risk you are talking about and how it is more important than the others. Okay, so in a risk register, you create a table where the risks are listed. Okay, you describe the risk events and you categorize them, prioritize them, order them. Okay, then you develop response strategies for each type of risks. Okay, so this risk happened, then this is the impact, what would I do? Okay, so actions if the risk eventually happens. Okay, so this is called as response strategies, and I told you response strategies can be one of the four. You avoid the risk, mitigate it, transfer it, or accept it. But so each risk can be dealt in a different way. The pricing risk may be accepted. Okay, the equipment failure risk may be transferred. Okay, the accident risk may be mitigated. Okay, the supply risk can be avoided. Okay, so in your list you will identify, you have identified the risk, now you will look for how will I respond to these risks. Then you implement the risk response. If the risk happens, you already have a plan, so then the implementation becomes is easier and smoother. The implementation becomes easier and smoother. Okay, if you have already made the plan for it. That's why we said risk management should be part of the project plan, initial plan. Don't wait for the risk to happen, then you start thinking what should I do. You are increasing your impact of the risk, and then uh, you are also making sure that you don't have the chance to apply all these strategies, because avoidance has to be done before, transfer has to be done before. You cannot tell someone in the middle of the project, if this is going to happen, this is your responsibility. Nobody will take responsibility like this. Okay, so in order to use all the possible strategies, you have to plan for it in advance, so the implementation will be easier and you have all the options available. Then you monitor and review the risks. Okay, how much time we have? Okay, then you monitor and review the risks. Okay, you have to monitor, first of all, you compare it with your plan, which of the risk actually happened. So you are developing a database for future now. Okay, that I was considering these events, and these are the events which usually happen. Why did they happen? Was there a cause which I could have avoided? Okay, so lesson, you are learning now. You are learning from what is actually happening and how it is compared to your plan. Okay, so you had a response strategy for a particular risk, but when this risk actually happened, you could not implement that plan because your contract was not done properly. Okay, so you learn the lessons now. Okay, first of all, you see the something which was uncertain, why did it actually happen? Could have done something more to avoid it. Then when it happened, did things go according to my response plan, and so on and so forth. So this will create a database for you to work in the future and to update yourself in the future. Okay, then you communicate the plan, and later on the tracking, and later on the changes. Everything should be communicated to all the stakeholders. Changes obviously is very important. Even the plan is important because you need the help of the other stakeholders. Okay, so if equipment malfunction happens, material shortage happens, the client and the other people should know that what are you going to do and what you have planned for it, because you need their help in the end. Okay, so communication is very important, and it also builds the trust in the team. They know that if something goes wrong, they will not panic. Okay, they will not stop the work. They know what you have planned, and they have trust in you that you will go according to this plan. Okay, and then learn from the experience. You go, when you are doing when the project is finished, you look at your documents and you see what lessons you have learned, and according to that you will make changes for future projects or for other projects which are working at the same time, which are happening at the same time. Okay, so again, all these must be documented. Okay, so following these steps will most of the times ensure success of the project. Okay, but then there is always the point where things go out of control. But even then, when you do your efforts, when you follow all the proper procedures, other parties know that the failure or the problem was not because of you. It was something which was out of control. So still you save your image, you save your face. Okay, so I stop here.